Hi, everybody. I'm just going to give it a few seconds. It's having a little trouble logging on, but I think we are good. All right, so let me go up here. So if you are watching, let me know. Write something in the comments box so I know that you are here. I think we're good. Still getting used to this new program. And I'm noticing you see a whole lot more of my space. So you're kind of seeing some of the messy stuff. You can kind of see my phone, which is acting as my camera. And you can see my, that's where I take pictures in that light box. Hi, Nancy. Great. All right. We are on. We have people. Perfect. Okay. I'm excited to show you the project today. I'm in love with the colors. And so if you got to see the tease of the little photograph, I'm going to be focusing on these colors. So this is Parakeet Party, Starry Sky, and blanking, Tahitian Tide. So these are actually 3 of the new in colors. They're still new, but they were introduced last May. And I hopefully that you like what I do. All right, Susan is here. Hello. Perfect. Oh, Susan, before I show you, while I'm waiting for my people to get on. Excellent. Debbie's here. I still have this on my desk and it smells so good. So you guys might be like, why is she holding soap? But I went to Quebec this summer and Susan gave me lots of places to visit. And so I brought her back some soap and I got myself some. And I told her I leave it on my desk and it always smells really good up here. All right. Finally, Cindy made it. Yes. All right. And all right, good. Okay, so I'm going to, actually, before I do that, I'll say this at the beginning and at the end. I showed you guys this last week, just as a reminder for anyone who places a $100 order in February. I am sending a tea treat in the mail to you. I will make it. I just got my supplies, so I'm excited to put those together. And I just wanted to uh-oh, there's my texting. Let me turn this off. Someone's texting me. Again, I'm still getting used to, I think I was supposed to put my camera on. Oh. Sorry, there we go. Live TV. I was supposed to put my phone on mute and I didn't. All right, so I'll show you that again at the end. All right, so I'm going to flip down. You can see my workspace. All right, I'm very excited to show you how I did these. All with the same technique. They're slightly different. I have another different color version to show you, so you don't have to use these colors. But I just love the imagery that happens, and I just like the colors. And then I'll show you what I did there. All right, so let me see what I want to do here. I'm just trying to see where I'm going to move these 2 over. All right, and another Debbie Hansen is here. Awesome. Okay, we have a good group today. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to use our Stampin' Write markers, and we're going to use a block. And so we're going to use a block. Well, it doesn't matter. I actually meant to kind of clean them. Some of these are a little gunky, but it doesn't matter for this technique. We're going to use a block. We're going to color on our blocks. We're going to use a spritzer. So this is just filled with water, and that's what's going to create this kind of cool color image. And you can get all different looks. I have a whole pile here. I'm going to show you different things of kind of what went right and what went wrong. And okay, I just want to make sure we're good. All right, so I have different types of paper here. I have regular, I think it's thick, but it's regular basic white. I have watercolor paper. I have extras. I cut extras. I have shimmery. I don't know if you can see that glitter. I have the shimmery white. And I have 1 sample of vanilla. I didn't bring the vanilla paper, but we're going to do it on 3 different types of paper so you can kind of see. Oh, and I just realized I forgot one thing, but that's okay. I'll just make a little bit of a mess. But what else is new, right? All right. So I'm going to use what are these called? They piercing mats. It's just a foam mat, and so these this is what the Stampin' Write ones look like. And this, I don't know, it was sent to me with something, and they're great. So they're just a little thinner, but it's fine if you have a mouse pad. that works as well. But these are great to have, to especially with those photopolymer stamps. I'm actually going to turn it this way, and that has a little spot on it. Since I have extras, get rid of the dirty one. All right. So I have my block. Excellent. Hi, Kim. Thanks for joining. And I'm going to color directly on them. So these I just want to make sure you don't get this a little glare. Stampin' Write markers, they're all listed kind of the same. They'll have like the name of the color. So that's Tahitian Tide. This one says Parakeet Party. And this one says Starry Sky. But they kind of give you clues. So the caps are the same. As far as I know, they're the same. And then it shows you the tip. So you have two different tips on the marker. So you have like, this is more of a writing tip, a fine tip, and it says 0.5 millimeters right on there. And then you have, this is what I call like a brush tip, like a paintbrush-ish. So you can use either side. You can journal with them, and you can color with them, and you can do what we're going to do with them. And they also have, I used to put washi tape on the side I used the most. So I put it like a washi tape over here. So then when I pick them up, I always knew what side to pick up. But look at this discovery. There's a thin line and a thick line. So the thin line is for the thinner tip, and the thicker line is for the thicker tip. So now you can visually see which tip you want. And so I'll probably still grab the wrong tip, but that's a visual cue. They do that on the blends markers too. So I've been using these for I can't tell you how many years, and I never even knew that till recently. All right, and so let me actually show you before we get started. So Stampin' Write markers are not sold individually. So this is in the catalog. You know, you have your ink pad or your paper, your ink pad, your refills, and the blends. So it shows you that, but the Stampin' Writes are not sold by themselves. They're sold in the color collection, or the color family, as I say. So that's here on page 126. If you look down, like you can buy an assorted pack of cardstock, or assorted pack of 12 by 12 cardstock, the assorted pack of ink pads, which save you 10%. Likewise with the refills, but you can also, in this last column, it has a Stampin' Write markers. So you buy them according to the color collection. So you can buy all the brights. So you get 10 markers all together for those major color families or collections. And then for the ink colors, you get 5, because there's 5 in each color collection. And so they're half the price. So I just wanted to show you where the Stampin' Write markers are. I think we used to use them a whole lot more than we do necessarily now, because we have kind of more choices of things to use. So they're still a really good thing to have. And the other thing I'm going to use, just so you know where it is on the catalog, on the next page, is these spritzers. And so you get, I think you get a couple of them. Yeah, you get 2 spritzers for $3.25. And so you can use those for different ways too. But I just wanted to show you where they are. Okay, so now, hi Mary Lou, you're late, but that's all right. I'm just starting right now. I'm going to color with that brush tip directly on my block. So I'm going to kind of do segments. I'm doing the lightest to the darkest in case I get a little ink on my tip there. I don't want to get my the lighter one with the darker ink on it. And I was just saying that on the markers themselves, they have a thick line and a thin line, and that indicates which tip is on there. All right, so you can kind of see, yeah, I colored 3 sections on my block. And this is kind of what we're going to get, but they're all a little bit different. Move this over. I'm just going to move this whole thing over so you can see it a little better. There we go. Okay, I have a paper towel. And what I meant to do was bring, I was using when I did these, just a piece of, the backing with the designer series paper, you get that thicker paper. I was putting this under it, but actually it should be fine. So I'm going to spritz over, this is the Stampin' Scrub, which usually I use that purple chamois. Let me actually show you. The Stampin' Scrub is what we originally used to wash our stamps with. and you get it folds in half. It has these grippy, cleaner things, and you have two sections. Just so you know, there's a sun and there's raindrops. So when you use your Stampin' Mist, and this is a really old bottle, you spritz on the raindrop side and then you clean it off on the sun side, the dry side, which I can clean up. I'll clean a block later just to show you, but I'm just using that to spray just so I don't get my whole work surface wet. All right, so I just have water in my mister, and you can do tons with these. You can put reinkers, like ink pad ink, if you wanted to spritz like a large area. You can put bleach in it if you want to bleach out some things. You can do things with it, but right now I just have straight old water. So my block is right here, and I'm going to give, we'll see, make sure I sprayed myself in the face yesterday. All right, I just did 3. So I did 3. Actually, let me do one more, just because I want this one to be wet, because I just want to show you the difference. All right, I did 5 just because I was talking. So that's pretty wet. So I'm going to put it directly, I love this, on my paper. And then if I lift it up, isn't that cool? If I lift it up, it's wet. This actually one is going to turn out okay. You could also, oh, you know what, since I have extra paper, and I did it on the foam mat on purpose. I just wanted to see, because that had extra water on it, and then you just take a paper towel and you rub it and it's clean. I didn't want to waste the ink. Some of them, when you had extra water and they dry, you get kind of this smudge. And then some of them, when you don't do enough water, you still have those block like of what you color, which is still cool, but I really like kind of this look. So one way to get that is, I have a whole bunch of foam mats. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to color. Remember, I just wiped it off and it took all that color off. Are you using watercolor paper? This one, Mary Lou, great question, is regular paper. I'm going to do some watercolor paper in a second, but I'm going to show you 3 types of paper and just kind of 3 different looks. So this is just regular basic white. All right. So my 3 colors. I'm going to move it over here to spray it. Let me get my paper. Again, this is still basic white. I'm going to do 3 spritzes. You can do, I think 2 is not quite enough. 3 seems to be pretty good. And I'm going to squish it on there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it. And you can kind of see how the water is separating from the block and the paper. You can kind of see it. I'm going to leave it rather than just pick it up right away. And that will help. I'm just going to move it to the side. That will help it not run. All right, so I have another pad. I happen to have a lot of blocks because I used to do lots of classes, so I need a lot of blocks. I'm going to do this again, and this time I'm going to do it on watercolor paper, as that's kind of drying or separating. The watercolor paper, you do need a little bit more water. Kind of makes sense, right? Because the watercolor paper really absorbs it. So I'm going to add a little bit more water. All right. All right, I did 5 on that one. We'll see. Sometimes it's just an experiment, so you can see it really did get watery. Flip it over. I'm really pushing it down because if I didn't, it would have, I'll show you where some of the water doesn't connect. And I'm just going to leave that. That's going to be pretty. I'm just going to leave it and let it dry for a second. Let's move that over. This one's all set. So I lift it up and actually look, there's nothing even on there. All the water absorbed in there. It still kind of had a little bit block-like, but it's less Like this is that first one I did, which is going to turn out okay. But that was one I did yesterday with too much water, and just that water just pools and it dries and it's not so pretty looking. All right. And then it's still a little damp. I'm just going to set it aside for right now. Okay, so that was our watercolor. So let's do, well, that should be all set, but let's do our one more. So I have that shimmery white. So I don't know if you can see, there's like little speckles of glitter in there. Just so you can kind of see the three different looks. Oops. I was having so much fun doing this yesterday. I spent way too much time doing it. I should have been doing other things, but else you'll see with my samples. I was having fun. Because you guys know I like working with color. I like mixing color combinations. I like coloring. Just like what color does. All right, so I'm going to, I did 3 again. Seems to be that good number. If you want it, you can even move things around. And if by really pushing on it, you really kind of move that water around. You do kind of want it to merge a little bit. So I'm going to leave it because I can even see there is that water. Look at that one. Do you see? Just think that's so cool. So that's the watercolor paper. I'm just going to let that sit a little bit longer. That's the shimmery paper. And let me show you some samples while that is working. Okay, so that one I showed you. These are shimmery. That's on that side. These are watercolor. And that was a vanilla. I was just curious. It kind of still came out similar to the white. So this is one watercolor. You see that blurb? So that's what happened with that one. So you see that, you just kind of squish it again just to move that water around. And that's why the foam mat is pretty good too. Okay, let's see. Another way, I'm going to show you. I'm not going to lift it up. And so I have some of that water. I'm going to soak it up with the paper towel. So you can just kind of absorb some of that. Oops, with the edge. If it's too pooly, I don't know if that's a word, but you can pick up some of that water with a paper towel. So I'm going to let that sit, and I'm just going to wipe that off, and then it's clear. All right, so that looks much better than that one, but that pool would have done that. And then here's one that was not quite enough. This is watercolor paper. Was not quite enough water on it, so it didn't quite like blend together, but it has a cool look. All right. This one I'm going to lift up. Actually, it's still a little wet. You can kind of move it around a little bit. That's on the shimmer paper. And then like that, and I can pick that up if you want. If it's too much, you don't want to wait for it to dry. Okay, so that looks really cool. That looks much better. This was shimmer. Again, that had that blob of paper. So really, if you let the block sit for a few minutes, it makes a huge difference. So that's something I discovered last night. And this one didn't really blend at all. So this one didn't have enough water. But I can still do stuff with that, which I'm going to show you. All right, so now I have my 3 that are drying. And let's see here. You should see my desk. Okay. I'm going to move these behind me just to let them dry. I'm going to show you those samples. All right, so this was, which I'm going to do this one. And I'll use, which one do I want to use? Maybe I'll use that one just so you can see it still looks nice even with the blocks. Okay, so I cut when I did all of these are all the same size paper. I just cut a piece of paper in quarters, so it's 5.5 by 4.25, and I decided to do that first and then to size it down. It just gave me a little bit more space to work with, and then as you're working, you might, if you had drips or something, you could cut them off. So I'm just going to trim this down to 3 3/4 width, and again you can kind of play. Oh, look at I'm gonna make that actually a little smaller because I want that to be more even. So this one is gonna have a bigger, darn it, a bigger border. You'll see in 1 second. I'm thinking, I know what I'm thinking, you just don't know what I'm saying. All right, so there's my base. What I was saying is I had trimmed it down so it has a smaller blue border, but that should be fine. I think it should still be fine with the, we'll find out, with the dragonflies. So I just think, oh, actually I was going to make, let's see, I was going to actually do this one with a shell. Let's see if the shell will work on this one. So I have done this technique before, and to me it lends itself with the dragonflies because these colors lend itself, in my thinking, to dragonflies. So I stamped the 2 dragonflies from this set here. You can even see I had a little runoff, and so I just kind of put the wings on top of it. So you can kind of fix a few mistakes. But then I was thinking maybe the shells would look nice. This one might be kind of big. That one's too big because I trimmed it kind of small. Let's try that. We'll do a starfish. We'll do that. We'll see what happens. And I have, so you can use any color ink, but I actually think the Stays On Black works good. I've said this before. I think the Stays On is a darker black, and it's a crisper line when you stamp than the Memento. I'm just looking at the comments. How can I make the edge of the paper to look like it's torn? Oh, okay. I'll get back to that in 1 second, Susan. That is a very good question, and I can show you. Because the watercolor paper a lot of times has that look, right? All right, so I'm going to use my foam pad because I'm using photopolymer. And I did recently re-ink this. I like my black to be nice and dark black. So I do tend to re-ink these often. So I'm just going to stamp that right on. You don't see it very well. Let's see. Again, I'm kind of doing this live. I didn't test out the shells, but I have plenty of samples here. I think I should have moved up the starfish a little bit more. I'll just do a little thank you in the corner. I needed some thank you notes, so that's kind of why I come up with those 2. Okay. I wish my silver dollar was up a little bit more, but that's all right. I have more samples here. Let's see. All right, Susan, you wanted to know how you rip your paper. So I just take the edges of my fingers and rip it down like that. Let me know if this is what you meant. Let's see what this one looks like too. And I'm not turning it over, which makes it easier because then the fray part, it looks different. So I'm just Kind of awkwardly holding it this way. But that's all right. I'm trying to make my borders the same. That's going to look good. All right. Good question. Let me know if this is what you meant. All right. So here we go. That looks awesome. You'd think I planted that question in the audience. Okay, so that's okay. I'm not thrilled with it. I think also because there's too much white space, whereas the dragonflies, it has a little more substance. So let's use the dragonflies. Let's take these off. And these are those red rubber stamps, so I actually don't need to use that at the moment. All right, so these two dragonflies, you'll notice one has a solid body and one has like an open body. So just decide, I'll put the open body up top because then you could see the green through it more than I think you would see the black. I'll raise it up a little bit more too. I think that was part of my shell's problem. It was too much in the white space. And let's do this one, but not exactly flying the same direction. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, and so what I'm going to do with this one, I'm going to use, because I showed this before, but this thank you for your kindness comes with this set. But what if I only wanted thank you? Again, another good use of those Stampin' Write markers. But you cannot do this with the blends. You would color on it and it would just dry. But this one, because they're water-based markers, when you add like that huff, I can't see with a reflection. There we go. Thank you. So that looks good. Okay. Then I'm going to add this on the front with, you could glue it down, but it has that loose look. So I'm actually going to use, oh, forgot those big size dimensionals again. I'm going to use the corners, edges. All right, let's see. Yeah, I haven't done a ripped look in a long time. And this technique I learned a long time ago too. And you know, sometimes you forget some of the things that you learned at the beginning because you get excited to keep learning new things. And as you stamp and you learn more, and then you get a little bit more savvy in what you're doing, you forget kind of like the things you learned at the beginning, but they're good things you learn at the beginning. So this was a technique I learned earlier on. Same with the ripping of the paper. I haven't done that in years, but it's a nice effect. All right, so that is going to go right on like that. Awesome. So that has a total different look. Where's my original? The ripped paper versus, it's almost the same card. It's cool. Now I'm noticing I have a couple little dots. What I could do, I haven't done this in a long time either. All right, bear with me. I might not do this right, but I think, let's put a cover on my ink. I think if you take your marker and you thump, nope, that might be just with the aqua painters. I think people have like, all right, this isn't working. So they splattered it. That's not working either. Okay. I'll get back to you on that one. Oh, okay, I smudged it. There's a way to get the to flick like little parts of the ink with these markers, but it's I forget. I know with the aqua painter you can do it that way. All right, let's see. Could you fussy cut another sand dollar and pop it over? Yes, actually, I'm going to show you that. Good minds. All right, so let me move these aside before I get way sidetracked. Yes, I'm going to show you that with another card. All right, which is buried. My supplies were buried under things. All right, so what I did, let me show you. I'll just show you this. I did this one. I made a slimline card, they call it. So Stampin' Up! Sells these slimline envelopes in 3 colors. Of the same pack, you get smoky slate, soft, succulent, and white. So this one I think would match with a smoky slate, or it could match certainly with the white envelope. So what I did, to get back to, if I stamped one and cut it out, that's exactly what I did for this dragonfly. So I stamped a bigger block, and then I punched them out, not realizing when I was doing it that the punch has 2 stamps on it. So when I went to punch, I was gonna wreck that one. So that's why I kind of cut it and manded it. But yeah, that's exactly what I did. So I'll play with the sand dollar one. But that's what I did here. But I did the same thing. So let me just show you, since I have all the supplies here. This one, remember I said if you don't put enough water, that's what kind of happens. It has a cool look to it. Don't let me forget to show you other stuff I have on my desk, because now everything's getting buried. All right. So this one, I kind of did different colors. I started with the green again. And then I did the darker blue next to it, just to vary it up a little bit. So I did kind of different color blocks. So Stampin' Up! Sells all different size blocks and shapes. And so that's kind of, I wanted to show you the longer one. So my spritzer is here. And again, you could always move it around to manipulate a little bit more if you wanted to, because this is a long one. You smush it together. I think that part didn't have water on it, but it kind of looks cool. So I'm just going to let that sit for a minute. And as I do that, so remember I said like some of these don't look so good with the spots. So you can take dies and cut them out. So I use these Argyle dies, which I love. They're from the Alls that manly stamp set. But the dies are all shapes. Like you don't even have to use them with a stamp set. So I just cut them out with a piece that just didn't work. So these will not go to waste. I will definitely cut them out, and I think that looks kind of cool. And then I embossed it. I happen to have an Argyle, or I think they call it gingham, but it had an Argyle look to it, embossing folder, just to give it a little something extra. And I cut out just the piece of paper with the deckled rectangles. I'm just letting that dry while I'll show you some of my other samples. And then that I showed you. Here, I did different colors. Move this to the side here. Because I was making these all with those 3 colors, but you can use other colors. So I did the same technique, but rather than, I kept doing the dragonfly ones this direction, I just stamped them in this direction just to give it a slightly different shape. And so I used, let's see, Daffodil Delight, Flirty, Flamingo, and Sweet Sorbet for my colors. So you can see too, this one had a little bit more water and blended a little bit more than this one. But you can do this with tons of different colors. Just checking the comments. How did you get the paper ragged on the edge? Do you mean this one, Susan? This I use the deckled, I'll show you, the deckled rectangles. Usually I use the stitched rectangles, but for that one, they're dies right here, the deckled rectangles. So they're all have that kind of cut look. It's kind of cool. I'm not sure if that was your question. Love the idea of using the dies on parts of, yeah, because I have now lots of leftover pieces, so I'll be doing lots of that. All right, excellent, good. Okay, so and the other, where was I had one more. Here it is. So rather than mounting, your cards, I just did the same technique on one of those note cards and envelopes that come with just the note card, and they're scored with the envelopes. And this fits on perfectly. What a simple card, but it's really kind of pretty. So play with your colors. All right. Let's move this one over. I'm going to lift this one up. I really do think that extra few minutes sitting on the paper really makes a big difference. I never did that before, but it really does make a difference. I just think that's gorgeous. Again, here's a different one, same technique. And here is that finished card. Alrighty, what time is it? Okay, I've been chatting a lot, so let me finish up. The one I wanted to make sure I showed you with the other color. So that is good. These are, let's see if you can see them all on the screen. I think you can. Those are those ones. I'll take pretty pictures. I'll fiddle with the shell one. That may or may not work. It might not be the right. Not all stamps look good. I just think it needed a little bit more black. You could use a solid stamp, but I thought it needed more. But certainly to stamp this to then cut out, that is a better stamp for that purpose. Okay. I lost my little sheet. Here it is. I'll just show you this, and then I'll send you on your way. Just to remind you, in February, I'm doing the kind of that tea treat special. So if you place a $100 order in February using the host code down here, I will send you a handmade treat that I'm getting ready to start making. Very excited about that. All right. Hi, Carol from Florida, joining in. We'll see you soon enough. Hope you're enjoying. Oh, good, Polly. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, it's a fun technique. It's one that I learned early on before we had all the fancy dancy markers. We only had Stampin' Write markers, and so you can do a lot with these. So they're great. They're a great thing for your toolkit, as they say. All right, there we go. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you liked it. I will take nice pictures and put them up on my Facebook page and maybe my blog. Actually, maybe I'll put this one on the blog. My blog's going through some construction, so it's gonna, for a little while, it's gonna look kind of funny. All right. Getting used to this setup. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the sunshine. We have a really nice sunny day, so I'm going to actually go take a walk and enjoy the fresh air. All right. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you guys next week. Thank you.